call that destroyed my quiet life. Dad, if anything happens to me, don't trust the police. Those were the last words my son ever said before the phone went dead. Not goodbye. Not I love you. Just one warning. For a long time, I stared at the screen, waiting for his name to light up again. It never did. People think silence is peaceful. It isn't. Sometimes silence is the loudest sound you'll ever hear, especially when you're a father. My name is Jack Morgan. I'm 68 years old. Most people in Wilmington, North Carolina, know me as the quiet old mechanic who owns a small repair shop at the edge of town. They know I fix broken engines. They know I drink black coffee every morning. They know I drive the same rusty Ford pickup I've owned for almost 20 years. What they don't know is that before I ever held a wrench, I spent 27 years hunting the most dangerous criminals in America, and I promised myself I would never become that man again. Until they came after my son, the morning began like every other Tuesday. I unlocked the garage before sunrise. The smell of motor oil mixed with fresh coffee drifted through the building. Rusty, my old golden retriever, lifted his head for a second before deciding sleep was more important than greeting customers. Smart dog. I switched on the lights. 3 cars were already waiting outside. Mrs. Harris needed new brakes. A college kid wanted an oil change. Mr. Collins insisted his truck made a ghost noise. Old people describe mechanical problems in funny ways. I preferred engines over people. Engines never lied. People did. By 10 o'clock, the garage was busy. Country music played softly from an old radio hanging above my toolbox. Everything felt ordinary, safe, peaceful. I had spent 20 years building that peaceful life. It had taken only one phone call to destroy it. Around lunchtime, the familiar sound of a black Honda stopped outside the garage. Daniel stepped out wearing a navy blue suit with his tie already hanging loose around his neck. He looked exhausted. "Busy day?" I asked. He smiled. "You could say that." He walked inside, grabbed a cold soda from the refrigerator, and leaned against my workbench exactly like he had done since high school. Some habits never change. "You skipped breakfast again," I said. "I had court." "You always have court." He laughed. "You sound like Mom." The smile disappeared from both our faces. Linda had been gone for 10 years. Cancer doesn't just steal a person, it steals little moments forever. Daniel looked around the garage. "I still can't believe you never sold this place." I shrugged. "It keeps my hands busy." He nodded slowly. "I know." He knew exactly what I meant. Working kept grief quiet, at least most days. Daniel wasn't just my son. He was everything Linda had hoped I could become. Kind, patient, honest. He became a public defense attorney because he believed innocent people deserved someone willing to fight for them. I admired that. I also worried about it. Good people often become targets. He placed a thick file on my workbench. I finally found it. I looked at him. Found what? The missing money. I frowned. What money? He opened the folder. Construction contracts, bank transfers, property records, photographs. Everything was organized perfectly. The city has been paying fake companies for projects that don't exist. Millions of dollars. I looked through the papers. Whoever organized this wasn't stealing thousands. They were stealing fortunes. You reported this? I'm meeting federal investigators tomorrow morning. Something inside my stomach tightened. Who owns these companies? Daniel hesitated, then quietly answered. Victor Kane. The name hung in the air. Even Rusty lifted his head. Victor Kane. Every town has a man everyone pretends to respect. because they're too afraid not to. Officially, Victor Kane was a billionaire developer. He donated money to hospitals, built schools, appeared on television shaking hands with politicians. Unofficially, people disappeared after testifying against him. Businesses that refused to sell suddenly burned down. Witnesses forgot what they had seen. And somehow, Victor Kane was never charged with anything. Daniel noticed my expression. "You know who he is." "I know enough." He smiled confidently. If nobody stands up to people like him, they keep winning. I looked at my son for several long seconds. He had Linda's heart, but my stubbornness. It was a dangerous combination. "Dad, if anything happens..." He stopped, then smiled. "Forget it." "No." "What? You were going to say something." He shook his head. "I'm probably overthinking." I stepped closer. "Daniel." He looked down at the folder. "I found someone inside Kane's organization. Someone willing to testify." My heartbeat slowed. "When?" "Tomorrow." "And after tomorrow?" He smiled. "We expose everything." I wanted to tell him not to do it. I wanted to tell him to burn every document, to walk away, to choose life instead of justice. But I knew my son. He'd already made his decision, just like I once had. At 1:15 p.m., Daniel left the garage. Before driving away, he rolled down the window. "Dinner tonight? Your place or mine?" "My place. I'll bring pizza." I smiled. "You always do." He laughed. "I know." Then he drove away. Neither of us realized. Those would be the last ordinary words we'd ever share. Daniel disappeared into afternoon traffic, and for a while I convinced myself everything would be fine. I went back to work. Mrs. Harris picked up her SUV. The college kid finally stopped asking if I could make his car louder. Mr. Collins's ghost noise turned out to be nothing more than a loose exhaust bracket. Life continued exactly the way it always had, at least on the surface. Deep down, I couldn't stop thinking about Victor Kane. A man like that didn't become rich by letting honest people expose him. Around 3 o'clock, dark clouds rolled over Wilmington. Rain tapped softly against the garage roof. Business slowed. Rusty slept beside my toolbox while I finished rebuilding an old Chevrolet engine. Then my phone vibrated. "Daniel." I smiled before answering. "Hey, son." No reply, only breathing. Fast, uneven, like someone trying not to panic. "Daniel?" Then I heard another voice. A man's voice. Cold. "Take his phone." Daniel spoke quickly. "Dad, don't trust..." A loud crash interrupted him. Someone yelled. The phone hit the ground. Then, silence. The call ended. For several seconds, I stood perfectly still. My wrench slipped from my hand and hit the concrete floor. Rusty stood up immediately. Dogs can smell fear. I called Daniel back, straight to voicemail, again. Nothing. Every instinct I had buried 20 years earlier came rushing back. Something was terribly wrong. I locked the garage 5 hours earlier than usual, without saying a word to anyone. The courthouse was only 15 minutes away. It took me almost 30. Traffic lights suddenly felt endless. Every red light became an enemy. When I finally reached downtown, police cars surrounded the courthouse. Television news vans blocked the street. People crowded behind yellow tape. Something had happened. Something big. A reporter stood in front of a camera. Attorney Daniel Morgan has been arrested this afternoon after investigators discovered stolen confidential evidence connected to the Victor Kane corruption investigation. The words didn't make sense. Daniel? Arrested? Impossible. Then I saw him. 2 detectives escorted him down the courthouse steps. His hands were cuffed behind his back. His lip was bleeding. His suit was covered with dust. Someone had hit him. Daniel looked across the crowd. For one brief second, our eyes met. I expected fear. Instead, I saw determination. Before officers pushed him into the patrol car, he shouted only one sentence. "They planted everything!" The detective shoved him inside. The door slammed shut. The car disappeared. Half the crowd believed the news before the investigation had even begun. That's the dangerous thing about headlines. People trust them more than truth. That evening, every news station repeated the same story. Public defender arrested. Evidence found inside office. Authorities praise fast investigation. It sounded rehearsed, almost scripted. Real investigations aren't that clean. Someone wanted the story finished before anyone asked questions. I sat alone inside my dark garage long after sunset. Rain beat against the metal roof. Rusty rested his head on my boot. I stared at the old wooden cabinet in the corner. I hadn't opened it in 20 years, not since retirement. Slowly, I walked toward it. Inside sat a black steel case covered in dust. The combination lock still worked. Click. Inside were things from another life. A government badge, a worn leather wallet, encrypted flash drives, an old service pistol, a faded photograph of 6 men standing beside an unmarked aircraft. 5 of them were dead. The 6th was me. I picked up the badge. For years I had convinced myself that Jack Morgan, the investigator, was gone forever. Only the mechanic remained. Tonight, I wasn't so sure anymore. The next morning, I visited Daniel at the county jail. He looked exhausted, but not defeated. We sat across thick security glass. The guard gave us exactly 20 minutes. Daniel leaned closer. They searched my office before I arrived. I know. They planted every document. I know. He frowned. You actually believe me? I looked him straight in the eyes. I've spent my entire life studying guilty people. You don't look like one. For the first time since entering the room, Daniel smiled, very slightly. Then he lowered his voice. They're looking for something. What? I don't know, but they think I have it. The guard glanced toward us. Daniel quickly reached into his pocket. The guard immediately stood. Daniel raised both hands. It's only a business card. After inspecting it, the guard passed it through the slot. On the back, only 3 words. Locker 214. No explanation, no address, nothing else. Daniel whispered, "If they move me, go there." Before I could ask another question, the moment I left the jail, I drove straight to the old Union train station. Locker 214 was exactly where Daniel said it would be. With shaking hands, I inserted the small key hidden inside his business card. The lock clicked. Inside wasn't money. It wasn't jewelry. It was a black flash drive and a sealed envelope with only one sentence written on it. If you're reading this, they know everything. My heart sank. I rushed back to my garage and plugged the flash drive into an old laptop. Hundreds of files appeared. Secret bank transfers, video recordings, audio conversations, names of judges, police officers, city officials. Every one of them had been working for Victor Kane. Then I opened the last folder, a security camera video. I watched in silence as Daniel entered his office the previous afternoon. 5 minutes later, 2 masked men unlocked the door using a master key. They planted fake documents inside his desk. Then they left before Daniel returned. Everything had been recorded. Daniel had been telling the truth. He had been framed from the very beginning. The next morning, I didn't call the police. I already knew who they worked for. Instead, I drove to the regional office of the FBI. An old receptionist looked at me. "Can I help you, sir?" Without saying a word, I placed my old government badge on the desk. Her expression changed instantly. Within minutes, I was sitting across from Special Agent Sarah Mitchell. She examined the flash drive for nearly an hour. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Morgan, if these files are authentic, this is one of the biggest corruption cases our office has ever seen." I simply replied, "They're authentic." She nodded. "Then we're going after Victor Kane." That night, Victor Kane made one final mistake. He sent 4 armed men to burn down my garage. They expected to find an old mechanic sleeping inside. Instead, they found someone who had spent nearly 3 decades hunting violent criminals. Before the first man reached the office door, I was already behind him. Within 3 minutes, all 4 attackers were on the ground. No one was dead, but no one was escaping either. When the FBI arrived, every one of them confessed who had hired them. Victor Kane's empire was beginning to collapse. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. News cameras filled every corner. Victor Kane entered wearing an expensive suit and the same confident smile he always wore. He believed money would save him one more time. His attorney stood and declared, "There is no evidence connecting my client to these accusations." Special Agent Mitchell smiled. "I disagree." One by one, the videos were played. The bank records appeared. Phone recordings echoed through the courtroom. Then came the security footage showing Daniel being framed. The entire courtroom fell silent. Victor Kane's smile disappeared. For the first time in years, he looked afraid. The jury needed less than 3 hours. Guilty on every major charge: money laundering, bribery, racketeering, conspiracy, attempted murder. The judge sentenced Victor Kane to life in federal prison without parole. One by one, his corrupt partners were arrested the same day. Daniel walked out of jail a free man. Outside the courthouse, he hugged me tighter than he ever had before. "I knew you'd find the truth." I smiled. "No, you found it. I just finished what you started." A month later, I unlocked my garage before sunrise. Rusty stretched beside the toolbox. Mrs. Harris arrived complaining about her brakes. Mr. Collins still believed his truck had ghost noises. For the first time in weeks, everything felt normal again. I took my old government badge, looked at it for a long moment, then locked it inside the black metal box forever. Some chapters deserved to stay closed. As I watched Daniel laughing with customers outside the garage, I finally understood something. Revenge doesn't heal a broken heart. Justice does. I picked up my wrench, smiled, and went back to fixing engines. Because this time, there was nothing left to chase. Only a peaceful life that had finally been earned.